Hi there, my name is Georgia Cooper and I'm a photographic artist. My current work starts with acknowledging the process in which I've always taken photographs ever since I was young. It was always very spontaneous and most often without much thought or concentration behind it. However, many of these moments that are photographed have come from a place when I'm thinking about life, being reflective and contemplative. In my own mind, in which when I've come back to the present or I'm brought back, I've noticed something that I am just compelled to photograph. It doesn't matter where or what time, I often fall into these states of contemplation, and if time and space allows me to, I admire and become absorbed into the world around me. As contemplation is a state that's non-tangible, non-linear or straightforward, rather something that is abstract, it is quite difficult to grasp such a concept in a photographic sense. Hence, I document these experiences through the format of a video work. The video allows the viewer to be brought into the work, and then ponder if perhaps they feel the same way when they experience their own stages of contemplation. My work is something that isn't forced, otherwise it discredits the work that I've created. It is a zone that goes with me wherever I may be, especially among the changing views of the everyday. These are the moments that I'm capturing and representing in this current work. For example, the way I start most projects begins by looking at every single picture that I've managed to save in my life. I still remember the first photograph I ever took. I remember it so distinctly, however the actual photograph was lost. It was a delicate white flower sitting on top of a skinny metal bin with a rounded top. It was a little bit rusty, but there just happened to be this beautiful white flower lying on top of this metal bin. The light that day was reflecting so perfectly, and you could see the reflection of this flower so clearly. I remember showing the photograph to my mum. She loved it. My nan was also there at the time, and she was the one who encouraged me to start photography in the first place. I think this is where my real first interest in photography began. In light of that story, my projects usually begin on reflecting on what I've taken on in the past. I collect them all together, I spread them all out, and I try to see what a common theme may be. However, because there usually is no theme or same subject matter, I begin to focus on the way in which I took these images. All the photos I had taken were never in an attempt to go and purposely take the photos. I didn't just stand on the side of the road and was determined that today was the day I was going to take 15 photographs of whatever the subject matter may have been. It was never about that. It was always about capturing what was in the moment and what had caught my eye. I was always in a calm state. I've never taken these photos out of anger or in an emotional way. It was when I was in a state when I was just looking and thinking about the life moving in front of me. The best way to resolve problems in my work is through constant experimentation. I love to experiment. It leads me down so many different pathways that I wouldn't have thought of originally, or I may have even discarded. I think it is one of the most helpful and valuable tools that any artist or creator can do. For example, for a work I created in 2018 called Deja Vu, the first few steps I took in undergoing this project was taking a portrait of my subject against a white background and then surrounding their image with photos I'd taken of marbles underwater from an abstract perspective. In hindsight, it was a very straightforward piece of work for such an abstract concept. The development from my first set of images to my second set was drastic. From a single portrait to 6 large ones that encaptured what I thought Deja Vu was perfectly, was done by taking a completely different route of photography that I wasn't used to or comfortable with. It pushed my work further than I could have ever imagined. As a result of being open to experimentation, I realized that it is okay if you shoot something different and it doesn't work out. there are always options. Therefore, experimentation for me is constantly retaking and shooting to see where my work can end up at, as well as a way to resolve issues with what I'm creating. The only particular process that I have noticed is mainly what I just addressed. It comes from a lot of reshooting, but also getting feedback from peers, family members, or even friends. Often a part of this process is also to leave the work alone for a bit. If I get too close or too invested in a work, I tend to lose concentration of what's important and I get caught up in all the little things. Always having a fresh pair of eyes is important, especially from other perspectives, such as when receiving feedback. This feedback then encourages the ways in which I should continue forward, which more often than not leads to experimenting in my work. It leads to developing it further and seeing how far it can be pushed. Usually, I'll work at home, in my kitchen on top of this counter. I'll clear whatever's on it, as I like to work in nice open spaces. I need lots of room to spread my prints, enough room for my laptop to make lots of notes on, and texters to scribble down different ideas in my book. I find it very, very hard to work in closed spaces as I get quite cramped and agitated, whereas being in open areas makes me feel quite at ease and calm. For example, I could never work in my bedroom. That's a place where I need to rest and relax. I can never be productive in that sort of space either. It gets way too distracting. That's why I prefer my kitchen countertop. There's lots of room and space to be productive.